Hi. I want to share just a few thoughts with you today about the choices that we make in life. We know that we all have to make difficult choices at times, and the outcome is not always what we had hoped it would be when we make those choices. And that comes through very strongly in that famous poem by Robert Frost, the road not taken, I guess, or the road less traveled, I guess is the title of it. And the first verse of that poem is, two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. And this is a metaphor. This poem about the road is a metaphor for the choices that we make in life. And a lot of times we wish that we could make, if we have a two-option opportunity where we either stay home or we go somewhere. Maybe a person says, well, I either stay home and live here with all the people that I know and all of the familiarity, or I pull up stakes, I go somewhere else for all brand new opportunities. And many of us have had to make that choice. And yet it's a difficult choice to make. But we cannot have both. We cannot both stay here and go elsewhere. We have to make a choice, and then we have to live with that choice. And that's really the gist of that poem. The last verse of that poem, which really sums up our choices, and the part of the poem that is most quoted is this: I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Now, the author is looking back on the choices that he made in life, and his response is, and that has made all the difference. What we don't know from this is whether the outcome was successful or a failure. Frost doesn't say that in his poem. We don't know whether it was a glorious outcome or it was this miserable failure. But what we do know is whatever choice it was has made all the difference. The Bible has numerous references to the road not taken or the choices we make. In fact, if we look at Matthew 7, verses 13 and 14, it says, enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy. That leads to destruction. And those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. So what we get from this is that most people take the well-traveled path in life, the path that everybody else is traveling, the road that everybody else is going on, and few people take the road less traveled. We see a similar juncture between Frost's poem and this passage in the gospel. And in this case, we have all made choices in our life that we regret, every one of us. We've all made choices that we celebrate and know that it was the right path, the right thing that we should have done. I can think of instances in my own life where I give God thanks that I made that choice at that time. But then there's some other ones that I don't like to think of so much that I wish I'd made a different choice. I could have done better. I could have been a little bit more insightful as I made that choice. And so we all run into those kinds of situations. I just finished reading in my daily devotions about David and David's life. We know that David made one really bad choice. One night he saw Bathsheba bathing down below in the palace, and he should have been out in battle with his soldiers, but he decided to stay home. And it put him in a situation where he saw this woman. He fell instantly in love with this woman, and then he found out that she was married. And so he arranged it for Uriah, the woman's husband, to go off into battle, to fight on the front lines of David's army, and to be killed. And he did it intentionally. He made sure that that Uriah was killed. And David lived with that choice the rest of his life. God condemned him for it. It caused the death of his children. It caused all kinds of problems in David's life. And so even with the grace of God that we all understand and all know, we know that God forgives us and that God sets things right. But even so, some of the choices that we make are going to have lasting consequences the rest of our life. And we can look back like Robert Frost and say, and that has made all the difference. Either for good or for bad, it has made all the difference. Our choices make a difference. Can sometimes have lifelong consequences, but God's grace is still at work in our lives. God's grace was still at work in the life of David. Throughout his days, he became the great king of Israel, even though he had to suffer the consequences of his own choices. And so it is with us. We make choices and we live with the consequences. May God help you today. May God lead you into making the kind of choices so that you can look back on your life and you can look at the road less traveled and say, and that has made all the difference. God bless you.